fence viewer.
Good evening and welcome to the Finance and Advisory Board Committee meeting of November 20th. Call the meeting to order at 7:07. Alrighty, we have handouts from Mike, our town administrator, acting finance director, and Mike and I chatted about a bunch of things. So some stuff we won't be. Well, I guess Mike, I'll let you direct this because I don't know how much stuff you were able to get together and what you want to talk about now and then in the future about some items.
Right, well, the first thing I'd like to nail down is the budget schedule itself. We kind of start at the end and
What
work
page are we on?
backwards. I think it's the third piece of paper in your packet there.
Fourth.
Fourth.
What is?
Says FY
Oh,
2000.
that.
Oh,
I made
okay.
the agenda.
All right, This-
I
I'm
got
looking at the wrong thing.
I got it.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
And Election Day is May 12th. So annual town meeting is a week before that. It's the first Monday of May, 5/5/14. We need a month. We would like a month, let's put it that way. Janet would like a month to get the final report printed and get the warrant
Okay.
posted. We need the warrant, especially if we have a special town meeting, posted 2 weeks before the meeting. If it's just an annual warrant, annual town meeting warrant, we only need 1 week.
Okay.
But we generally at least schedule a special town meeting just in case there's any budgetary items that we need to take care of to get us through the last couple months of the year. So that's our end date.
So we should be done by 4/3, is that what you're
April
saying?
3rd is your last meeting.
Right, okay.
And the week before, you should have the draft report and, make final recommendations at that meeting.
On the which meeting? The 26th?
The 26th, yeah.
This is when we should have final votes,
Yes.
ideally.
Ideally.
Because that should be final votes on articles, so that way we have any other last minute stuff on April 3rd for budget related items, because that's
Yes.
usually what we do.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, the later we wait, the better for budget, because, the chance of getting good revenue numbers from the state are slim and none.
Right.
Unless, a couple years ago, they did resolutions, guaranteeing us a minimum amount. They didn't do that last year. We didn't really know our final amount until really after June. It was July. So.
When they finally did their budget.
Yeah. That meeting on the 20th, that's a if necessary meeting. Now, if things go real smoothly, and this is what we tried to do last year. This is the same budget as schedule as last year. If we can go back up to the top. The first 3 Wednesdays, we tried to have the CIP meet and get things done. Last year, if you recall, we never achieved a quorum with the CIP. So we met, and discussed, but we never could make any real recommendations or votes. This year, it looks like we're going to have a full CIP committee.
Oh, good.
I'm optimistic that we'll actually have have a report for the committee, for the full committee. But the last Wednesday of January, 29th, that's when I would make turn over the budget and make a presentation to the Finance Committee. Then the following Saturday, we would have all the departments come in for a full-day session and make their presentations for each department. If you remember, last year, we had a big snowstorm on the 9th of February, and that got canceled. But we had also scheduled a meeting on Saturday, March 9th, and that's what we ended up postponing it till then. And it turned out, by doing that, having everybody come in at once in one shot, it really accelerated the process. Instead of having 2 or 3 people in, continuous Wednesdays every Wednesday, we got it all done at once.
Oh, yeah.
That was wonderful.
That was much
That
better.
was good.
Yeah, yeah.
That was good.
Question, when are we looking at for warrant article review? When are you looking to have, when are the selectmen looking to close the warrant? Because that is always a challenge. Last year it worked out great, but it's always a challenge to try to be nice and keep it open for that one last week. It's a problem for us.
Right. They have a policy, and this will be the 3rd year. The warrant opens the first meeting in January for them, and this happens to be the 6th, January 6th. And they close it the last meeting in February. And this year would be February 24th. And that's more for the petition warrant articles. Just so everybody knows, here's the opening date, here's the closing date. Get your petition articles in. We rarely get them, but we let the citizens know, the voters know, that this is the time. What we've been doing, because we don't have final numbers or good numbers, the selectmen put placeholders. We know we're gonna buy I don't know, a truck, or we know we're gonna have a bond, but we don't know the final amount. So we just say, here's the language for the bond, we fill in the numbers later.
The spirit of the article is done.
Yes.
But technically, they can reopen this anytime they want to.
Selectmen can.
Right,
Yes, they can,
exactly, okay. All right.
which we highly advise
I
against.
mean, but, obviously, like, Sandy said, it'd be nice if we could, act on those, but,
Because we can't do votes until,
That's right. Till it's, yeah, really, until the warrant is posted.
yeah, so, all right.
Change it
Yeah.
right up to that day.
It's fluid.
It is.
Okay.
okay. Stu, one of the other challenges we always have in budget season, and I would ask with Stu, you're here from the Board of Selectmen, is the CPC presentations. CPC presenting, as they have in the past years, does not really work very well for us. They present very late, and they have indicated before that it is because it is scheduled the way they do it. I don't know if you could encourage them to actually back up their schedule a little bit so that they can actually be part of the team of getting this article out and getting this FinCom report out.
Where would you want them, in the department?
I would like them,
Presentations?
I would like all their articles, they should have all their articles voted on by the same time the warrant closes, by the 26th, the end of February. They should have already had their public presentation. Well, let me back up. Is their public presentation for what they're moving forward with, or is the but they should have already their public hearings done, and they should know by the 26th what they're moving forward with. They can do their public presentation after that, but they should know by the end of February what articles they're moving forward with, so they can be part of the whole warrant article review. They are a warrant article. They should be part of the review in general. Because invariably, they've come to us the end of March, and then all of a sudden, we're feeling very rushed and trying to get the stuff to Mike. And it is good for the taxpayers to actually see what our votes are in the FinCom book instead of us presenting them at town meeting, which is what happens a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd prefer to see it
In the
early
book.
and,
Well,
early
in the-
and often, you
in
know,
the
so to
book.
speak.
It's,
so.
you know, I don't know what the challenge is. Ed is our representative on CPC, is not here tonight. Unfortunately, he got stuck in Worcester. He couldn't get out here on time. But that would definitely be something.
Mike, will you make a note of that for us?
Yes.
Talk to them about-
Does the rest of the board concur with,
Yeah, that's fine, sure.
to get them in earlier, early and often? Yeah?
Yeah, I think the sooner people can see, you know, what's on the warrant, everybody's better off. I mean, a lot of people walk in there and they don't even know what's on the warrant until they're sitting down 20 minutes before reading it.
Well, that's gonna happen anyway.
No, no, I know
Those
that,
are-
I definitely know that happens, but I mean,
People.
I'd love to see it where we can get it fully published, even published in the newspaper, you know, a week before town meeting.
Oh, that would be
That would be my
wonderful.
goal.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
'cause I
that would
mean,
be great.
You know, in terms of like the constituent communications, I think, you know, we've done a pretty good job ramping up, you know, and getting the newspaper covering things and that type of thing. And they've been good, you know, we're on a good, they're happy to talk to us, and, you know, I'm sort of the de facto, you know, PR guy for the Board of Selectmen as far as, you know, for the communications and stuff. So, you know, we talk to them all the time. They're always calling me, following up on meetings and information and stuff. So if we can align it right, then hopefully we get the warrant articles published in the paper a
Yeah,
week or two before.
And I understand that, you know, that they're busy and they're trying to do their meetings, and
Yeah.
I have spoken to them about this
Yeah.
in years past. I just don't know if they've chosen to change anything, or if they've chosen to go down the same path that proves to be a challenge.
Okay, we'll
But-
talk to them.
And it's not just a challenge for, it just ends up being, it's a snowball, it's a challenge for
Well, it's a
the
bottleneck
process.
at the very end.
It's a
and-
bottleneck at the end, exactly, and it should be part of the process as a whole,
Yeah.
not standalone, just because it's CPC and it goes underneath a different statute.
Yeah.
It's still part of the town.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, usually, you know, they project a great deal of money that is going to be acted on.
Yep.
And it'd be nice to give us a chance to,
Really bad it out.
you know, to react to some of
Yep.
these things and make recommendations, you know?
Great, if you guys could follow
Yeah,
up with
we'll
that,
talk to them.
thank you. Other than that, the schedule worked great last year, and like I said, as time goes on, I think that our regular meeting in January is the week before on the 22nd, and I guess Mike will touch base, because if we are gonna be presenting the budget, we'll touch base at the beginning of January to see if there's any other actions that we need to take care of on, as far as that have nothing to do with the budget, if we have to meet on the 22nd. We'll just meet on that, so just keep a note on that, everybody, that our regular meeting is the third Wednesday. And in February, that falls on vacation, we usually don't end up doing that, but we may have some regular business to take care of on the 22nd. So Mike, you and I can touch base to see, I don't want anybody to come in unnecessarily, but if we get business, I also don't want the budget, your budget to be rushed based on us having other business to take care of. Any other comments on Mike's schedule?
No, good job.
Okay.
So would you like to adopt it?
Yes, do you need a formal vote from us?
Well,
I guess.
might as well.
I so moved.
Second.
All right, there's a motion. You guys are way ahead of me. A motion and a second on the floor to adopt the budget schedule. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Now, as I prepare to send the budget docs out to the department heads, normally I give them a memo with it, and with some direction on how they should proceed in developing their budgets. And that direction should come from you. You know, they always want to know, well, is this a level funded budget? Is this a level service budget? Is it somewhere in between budget? Can they, you know, this is a new, we're gonna be starting on negotiating new collective bargaining agreements.
With who?
All three town units.
Really? Okay.
For those of you new to the board, the town has 3 collective bargaining units. They're all divisions of AFSCME. And there's 2 units in the police department, actually, but there's the superior officers have their own unit. There's 5 members in that. It's the lieutenants and sergeants, basically. And then the patrolmen have a separate unit. And I think there's 5 members in that as well. And then the 3rd unit is a mixed unit. It's rather unique. It's got the dispatchers in it. It's got the highway department in it, and it's got clerks here in the town hall. I think there's 4 full-time dispatchers, 4 full-time highway employees, not counting the highway surveyor, and then the clerk in the assessor's office is in the unit, and a clerk in the treasurer's office is in the unit. So the good thing is 2 of those units have the same AFSCME rep, so we can, you know, pretty much, and even with the 3rd, the superior officers, the contracts over the years have kind of, you know, meld together. We have 3 separate contracts, but the language is primarily the same. All the management right clauses are the same. We try to have the same grievance procedures. There's some things that need tweaking. You know, one unit has an 8-day notice and another unit has a 21-day notice. So, you know, we'd like to get them all on the same page just for management purposes, and so we don't miss a deadline. The good news is, you know, we only average maybe one grievance a year, at least since I've been here. That seems to be the average. We have very good, I would characterize it as very good management labor relations. The department heads do a really good job. You know, the employees are reasonable, very reasonable.
Where are the schools? They're not up this year, are they?
No, they just.
They just finished, I thought they just did this, didn't they?
Yeah, they're.
In the
This
cafeteria
is
workers?
the 2nd year of the schools, I think, isn't it?
Of the teachers.
Of the teachers, yeah.
Yeah, and even,
so.
I think the janitor, the custodians is new. I don't know, the cafeteria workers may be coming up.
I thought the custodians and cafeteria workers were
Separate
together.
units.
Oh, they are separate
Separate
unions,
units.
but they used to be together. In fact, they had the same
Yeah, not
business
anymore.
agent, not anymore, huh?
Oh, they may have the same business agent, but they definitely have different contracts and different time. I'm pretty
Really?
sure they have time.
Okay.
Was the teacher's contract for 3 years?
It was.
Yeah, they usually are.
How did the town clerk get involved in, I don't know, the police department and all that, as far as representation?
Not the town clerk.
Or did I miss that?
Yeah, it's the clerk in the treasurer's office and
Okay.
the assessing clerk. They're the 2 clerical people here in town hall that belong to the bargaining unit.
Okay.
Remember, we used to have a lot of clerks years ago?
Yeah.
And as people retired, we started getting rid of the positions, and because there were probably about 9 or 10 people, I think, in that union.
I
a
think
number
there
of
were a
years.
lot more. I was
Yeah, there was a
surprised
lot
when he
more.
said 2,
Yeah.
because there used to be a lot more.
Used to be a lot more, but as people have retired or whatever, and we haven't
Right.
replenished positions, so.
There was only one clerical position in the unit until when we realigned the treasurer's office, we had an assistant treasurer and assistant tax collector, and the combined treasurer tax collector. There were 3 people in there. But when the assistant tax collector retired, we combined the assistant collector and the assistant treasurer
Right,
into
into the same
one.
person, yeah.
But then we hired a clerk.
Right.
So we still had 3 people. We end up spending less. We saved about $7,000 on the salaries. But we still, that clerk position was on the books a long time ago, and it just wasn't filled, but it reappeared, and we don't have what's called a closed shop, but the employees are free to join or not. And the new clerk did decide to join the union. So
Okay.
that's how we ended up picking up an extra union position.
All right, so you're looking for direction from us on what to, for the budgets.
Yeah,
Last-
what you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, last year we did, just for the for folks at home and for our new members, last year we directed the department heads to, they basically had 3 costs that are schools especially 3 costs. One cost is salaries. They were to give us the salaries with the increases based on the bargaining unit. The next one was level funded expenses from the previous year, and any expenses that they needed to put in, they needed to justify, such as what particular one is always town clerk, depending upon how many elections there are.
Right.
Or if there's
Okay, that's why I
something,
had
some
remembered that.
unfunded mandate from the state, or something weird that's coming down that, in the recalc on the assessor's office, because that's not an annual cost, that's something that changes up and down as the years go by, right? Because we don't really have that annualized. That's like
The
2-year, the
revaluation?
revals,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, mhm.
The reval, excuse me, wrong term. And so we did that for all the department heads, and then for the schools, the added layer to that is the sped cost, so they should really know what their sped cost is. And so we don't get the complete,
Stuff for them to-
we don't get the complete school department budget, but for Mike's presentation, we should have the school, and I believe I've already spoken with Carol about this, and I will again, the salaries, which they should know because of the contractual obligations, sped, they should know, and then same thing with the rest of the departments, level fund expenses, and be prepared to justify any increases that they need. That's what we did that last year. So any thoughts on this year? Same, different, variation, hybrid?
Well, you were looking for department head directions, right, as far as budgets is concerned, right?
For what they
Right,
have to
So,
give us.
so we're talking about, level budget, service budget? Is that what we're talking about?
Not entirely. I think what she's saying is that people should take what they have this year plus whatever increases are likely with the union, which is gonna be difficult. I don't know how you do that. And plus level fund expenses and anything else that you really need, you have to justify. Is that?
Right, yeah. And
That's
if it-
what we,
and
that
if
is
it's
what we
just-
did last year.
Right, and it's, and some people, depending upon cost of materials, depending upon prevailing wage, depending upon a lot of things, they may have to, in order to provide similar services, may have to go up in their expenses. I don't know, I don't know if, based on what we have right now, information from the state, which is like nothing, and based on what's happening, is I don't really know if we can ask for level service, then to turn around and say to them, yeah, it's not gonna really happen. So what are your thoughts? What are the thoughts from the department heads?
Well, we haven't discussed it yet. I'll be having a department head meeting week after next, but I'll be putting this out beginning of next week before Thanksgiving. But well, you're right about the salaries. That's going to be a tough call. I mean, if we just say, and frankly, with negotiations going underway, I think the salaries should be level funded.
Right.
Because you don't want to add, I mean, last year we knew we had a 2.5% increase, so we budgeted that. But if we automatically budget 2.5%
And that's what they're gonna
increase,
get.
then, well, we've got at least that much in our pocket.
Yeah.
Let's go for, 4.5% or something like that. And frankly, the 2.5% last year was more generous than most other towns. A lot of towns, the contracts were 1% and 2% increases. But the selectmen made a commitment to the employees because the union and the non-union had a 0%, 3 years ago. So they had no increases, so the selectmen felt better thank you
Yeah, well, that's reasonable.
helping us out, and
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
so they were a little more generous than most towns. This year, we don't know, but I would recommend that we just level fund the salaries for now, and depending
And then just wait
upon-
and see what our revenue looks like, and you guys will be looking at that
and how the
anyway.
negotiations
And
go.
how the negotiations go.
We just, we're getting dates together to start meeting.
Right.
We'll probably start meeting right after the first of the year.
Now, I sound like a broken record. I really, but every year, we don't have any state figures because they don't meet, they don't appropriate budgets on time to meet local cities and towns, schedules. I have no idea why the Selectmen's Association in Massachusetts doesn't come down to the state legislature and say, do your job. They used to do it, and they used to provide us budgets back in February and March. And now it's like, July, and here we are trying to, to make ends meet and tie all the pieces together, and we don't have final numbers from the state. And it's really irritating. To me, it is. I don't know about anybody
It's-
else.
Well, yeah, it is.
It is,
Yeah.
it's just, it's,
At any rate.
and I don't think our legislatures are that interested in our.
Well, I don't know, if you
So
don't put,
that aspect, I
if you
quite
don't put any
honestly.
pressure on them and ask them to do these things, then you're never gonna get it, I guess, if you just say, oh, okay, and we'll wait until June or July to get your numbers, and then, why bother having a town meeting in May?
We have to because, well, we don't have to.
You don't
I
have
know,
to.
We have to have the election, yeah.
I understand that, but
Right.
I'm saying,
I mean, I
why
think these
bother
are-
having, a lot of times,
You could change
we
the
don't have
election,
enough
too.
numbers to
It's a,
create a half-decent budget, right?
Yeah. And you know
we've
what?
been doing it, so.
The big thing is what works with legislatures is a real serious push, and with lobbyists, because Mass Highway did that last year, not the DOT, but Mass Highway Association, and they hired lobbyists to push because of the whole Chapter 90 issue to get that out and to separate out all of the little sweet deals that they were getting for the transportation bill, because they were trying to push that in with the, we're going to give you 300 million extra money in for Chapter 90, but yet we want to get all these other little, sweetheart deals for all these other people,
Yeah.
and Mass Highway and the local highway associations really push back. Now, we didn't get the 300 million because that was basically our hand slap to do that, but that cost a lot of money. That cost a lot of money, and I don't know if, but that came from a private association because we really had to get a lobbying firm to do that. So I don't know if just pushing for selectmen, it would be, if they would just pat you on the head and say, that's nice.
I'm sorry?
Would Mass Municipal Association might be kind of the group that?
They would be the people, them and
They
the,
should be, but 2 years ago, they have their legislative breakfasts, a couple times a year, and 2 years ago, David and Gary and I went to one that was held in Haverhill. And a lot of our reps were in attendance, and all the towns and cities in the area attend. And Gary and I got in their face about this issue, about how can we get a budget. And the director of MMA was almost apologetic to the legislators that were
You're
present.
kidding.
Really. And we were sitting there because everybody else was asking, nice questions, and they finally called on us. He said, "You haven't asked a question yet," and I let him have it.
Good for you.
And
Good thing I wasn't there. They would have thought you were really nice.
yeah.
No,
Since then, I haven't gone to any legislative breakfast. I really haven't.
I can remember going to a meeting with him, with this fellow, I forget his name, but he was
Beckwith.
Beckwith?
He's the
Yeah. And
director. Or
I
something.
I said, I don't know what side of the fence he was working on, but it wasn't the municipal side, let me tell you.
Well, he is a former legislator.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
There you go.
there you go.
he did not impress me at all. Anyway, all right.
Okay, I'd like to make a quick statement.
Sure.
I personally, if we just go for essential services and just go with the basics, what we always do, how does knowing the budget or the money that the state's gonna give us change any of that? You know what I mean? I know it's important to have it so you can, but if it costs what it costs,
Right.
how does knowing what the state's gonna give us change what we write? Am I missing something?
Because we get a big chunk of money from the state.
I
So,
know.
and that's,
Yeah.
I know, so so we'll have to start cutting essential services, is that what you mean?
Yeah, if our Proposition 2.5 money and whatever new growth we have isn't enough to keep up with essential services, then yeah, we'd have to cut them. If the
Okay.
state doesn't increase what they give us.
Okay.
Because my question, looking at experience with the level of funding, and how much were people happy with that, the departments, or was everyone asking for more? What was kind of the reaction?
nobody's happy. Everybody is underfunded. That's the bottom line.
Right.
Is every department is underfunded.
But was it workably underfunded, or were there issues? I guess that's what I'm.
We've been, well, actually, we haven't had a level funded budget
No.
in over,
Yeah.
I know my first year was level funded. Because that was when everybody got 0%. That was the only way we could do it. Otherwise, people would have been laid off. But then the last 3 years, the salaries went up 2.5, and 2.5. We didn't, we didn't cut any services. So, nothing, no positions got cut, and, we were able to achieve a lot of different savings. The biggest thing was healthcare. Our healthcare costs have not gone up in 4 years. We've always had, prior to that, it's always been 10 to 15%. So that's been a big savings. And we've had other, local revenues that have increased slightly. And, we've had some other, not one of, but sometimes one of, well, our free cash position has been very healthy.
Which has helped us with capital items that we never had money to pay for
Yeah.
capital that used to have to come out of the operating budget. So that's kind of
so
That's
the,
like
so
a
the
yo-yo.
departments are
You know,
getting
it could be
equipment.
up and could be
Right.
down.
You know, like the police department is
Yeah,
getting
no
new
idea
cars
what that-
now because
Right.
we were able to
Cash
put
is
money
back.
into their budget. They lease them, right?
Right, and
Yes.
one of the big things was the garage doors, wasn't that a number of years ago, because we had no CIP money, that had to get built into the operating budget, and that shouldn't,
Right.
that's really a CIP article, and that's why we've been really trying to get the money in CIP to take care of those items, so then the operating is just the operating, and then when something slightly catastrophic happens, it doesn't hit their operating, that we can pay for it out of another, so that has been helpful, right, Mike, over the past few, yeah, so it's, and it also comes with, that a lot of these folks in town have been here a number of years. A lot of people who work for the town live in town, so they understand, you know, their tax bill and things like that. And quite honestly, we're providing basic services. We're not providing a lot of really
No.
over-the-top services. We don't have a youth center. We don't have a senior center. We have a senior council on aging program, but we don't have a senior center. You know, so it's,
And we did have a $1.2 million school operating budget override a couple of 3 years ago too.
Right.
And that was speaking of schools, when I talked to Carol, last year, they got $250,000 in free
Sped.
cash for SPED.
yep,
That's, free cash is usually a one-time deal. It's not meant to be, it's not an override. So when she's doing her budget this year, what
Where's
direction? I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, it's not a cash cow.
right, that,
Well, you know,
that
you
was,
can't,
in the FY
you can't keep
12
giving
bud-
them the same
right.
free cash to them every year.
That
you
was,
know,
for, well, that was
doesn't
for the FY13 budget.
Right.
But it's still, and it's in there in the operating budget, but that's why we have to look at what are the real sped costs.
Plus, they
What has gone up,
also
what has gone down.
said that they would give it back when they got their SPED reimbursement too.
Well, we will chat with them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, their sped reimbursement, that's the, what do you call that when they, there's a name for it, I can't think
Yeah.
of it.
Well, they don't get.
They don't get
what they're
much back.
Supposed to get.
They
Right.
don't get much back.
That seems to get cut every year.
Yeah. I forget what it's called, but Joan would know how much they get back,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah.
Okay, so, do we want to go similar to what we've done last year? And I'll put this out there, and somebody can do it or whatever. I'll entertain a motion for a recommendation from Mike to take to the department heads. For salaries, schools with their contractual increases,
Yeah, last year's salaries plus contractual
Right.
increases,
town side,
same thing.
contracts, no, there's no.
Oh, they're gonna
Right,
level
right.
fund salaries,
So,
because you don't know
ta-
what the
level
increases
fund, and that
are.
is for both for contract and uncontract.
Yeah, what are you gonna do
Correct.
about non-union people?
That's, yeah.
Well, the selectmen have finally, adopted a policy, well, I don't know if it's an official policy, but the last couple years, whatever one gets, the other gets.
Oh,
Okay, so for
okay,
right
that's
now, the
reasonable.
town will be level funded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, I'll read this all again, take back I'll entertain a motion. Expenses level fund, and any increases need to be justified. And then the sped, cost.
Well, that's a.
With the schools, yeah.
Well, we-
Cost is
Right, well, we need to
It's-
get that, I mean, and that's what's,
you can't throw a dot on that. you
well, I
know.
mean, the good thing is that with the schools, the way they did it, it's definitely, I think it came to a good compromise, is that they need to get to us those three numbers, so we can plug it into the whole calculation to see,
Right.
are we over, are we under? Then they can start to tweak some of the stuff, and then when they present. Did that work for you last year to get the three numbers? But they need to get the numbers in when everybody else's is due. That was one of the challenges, which we'll have to reiterate to them.
Did we get it from them that early? I thought we did pretty
we,
well.
We did get it before the 8th, but it wasn't Mike did not get it for his presentation.
Okay.
So, and
Okay,
that's
but we
one
had
of the
it
things,
for the
right?
day.
Right, we had it for
That
the day,
we-
and then we ended up being off a month anyway. So, but it is real important, because then we can get plug those numbers into the whole summary to see,
Where
you know,
we are.
where we are. You know, are we sitting there on the right track based on revenue expectations, based on expectations of Chapter 90? Or when you plug all this in, are we like totally in the hole, which means that's a whole different ballgame of what we have to do. So, does that work for you?
I mean, we don't, okay, you know, just being in the system before, I mean, I don't know how we know the number of sped kids that are gonna come
She
in,
had-
and what kind of sped kids are coming in, and how much that's gonna cost.
I think what
We
they have to do is
no
give us
idea
what they,
about that.
Reg, they have to give us what they know.
Right.
Exactly.
They
Okay,
can't,
but,
they-
you know,
like I
and
said,
things
it's a-
happen to them
you know,
that
it's
changes
a dart
that.
shoot, you know?
And that's what happened in FY13 is
Yeah.
they gave us what they knew, and then came that fall, a student that they had no knowledge of, and that's something we have to, we don't have
We
a
have
choice.
to deal with it.
We have to
Yeah.
deal with it. But last year they gave us the sped cost, and as far as I know, we're going on the same, knock on wood, the same, cost right now. Okay, so I will entertain a motion for a recommendation to the department heads. The salaries, town side are level funded, schools are funded with contractual increases, no additional personnel on either side at this point in time. Is it, okay?
Or that would be one of the things they'd have to justify.
Right, that's what I mean, it's,
Yeah.
that would be under a justification type
Right.
thing. Expenses would be level funded and justify any increases to those line items, and then the sped costs.
Right. So moved.
I second.
Come on, Reg.
I'll second.
Well, all right, yeah.
Or we can give them a dartboard. And with numbers and balloons, and they can
And
pop the
balloons,
balloons,
right.
and that's what they get.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
I think they have a much better idea than you think. I mean, they know who they have, and I think by January they will know that there are
You
kids.
don't know if someone moves
Oh
into
no!
the community.
Oh,
no,
right,
no,
no.
no! We know that. We know that.
But we need to have a number starting
But we
somewhere.
need a number, and if it doesn't work out, then we have to make adjustments.
Absolutely.
And that's what a lot of this is, just to see where we are. And last year, we found out that, we were gonna have, once all shook out, we were gonna have a little bit extra money. We were able to put money towards CIP. And, and deal with some other things, so. Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. All right, Mike, what would you like to discuss next?
Well, before I get into the CIP, I always get asked by Reg, what's in the stabilization?
Oh, I saw that.
What's in the free cash? What's in the capital?
Thank you.
That's great. That's
That's
wonderful.
wonderful.
No, this is
I
nice.
have a spreadsheet here for the major fund balances.
That's wonderful. Right.
So, as you can see, we have $734,810 in certified free cash.
Fabulous.
Stabilization, $1.2 million. Capital fund,
Seeing that money sit there.
I know. right?
$215,351. And OPED, which we just started last year, is $50,000.
Is it OPED or OPEB?
PEB.
PEB,
yeah,
okay,
That's a B.
Typo.
that's all right.
Now, what's the
Make sure there's
percentage,
not another fund we didn't know about.
what's the percentage the state recommends for stabilization? 5?
Yeah.
Well, if you
He's gonna get to
go-
that.
5%?
He's going to get to
Yeah,
that.
down.
Reg.
I've got it there, Rod.
He gave you a lot of information this time,
did.
Reg.
I'm ready for you this year. Believe me.
He's all over it.
Okay, 5.7? No.
Let me get there. Okay, the finance committee and the selectmen adopted a free cash policy a few years ago. And that policy reads, on an annual basis, take up to 25% of free cash and put it in the stabilization fund. And then up to another 25% and put it in the capital fund. So if we were to do that this year, 25% of the 734,810 is 183,702. So our current stabilization is 1.2 million. If we put that full 25% in at a 183,702, we'd have 1.4 million. That's 5.74% of the operating budget. The state, although it's not required, the rule of thumb is if you have 5% of your operating budget in the stabilization fund, that's
in good
considered
shape.
good.
Yeah, you're in good
And that
shape.
gives us
Yeah.
what kind of bond rating?
We have a double, we have an A2,
Okay.
double A2.
Yeah.
Which is for a small community, it's right next to, you know.
AAA for a big
AAA.
community, yeah.
And there's almost no chance for us to
To
achieve
get a better
that.
bond rating?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've got
Good.
about
So
the
let's not
best
do
we're
that.
ever gonna see.
Yeah.
And we were able to maintain that when we went out for the ESCO bond. We had a bond call and we got re-rated then. We're gonna have to get re-rated when we go out to bond for the school. But, you know, we're still in as good or better financial shape than we were then, so I don't anticipate a downgrade. Although the municipal bond market is awful
Is it?
because of the Detroits and everybody else going bankrupt.
Oh.
So,
Interest rates have gone up, have they?
not terribly, not terribly. They're rising slightly, but not that much.
Is it they
The
just don't want, is
short-term-
it just they just don't want
These people
bonds?
aren't buying them, sort of. Oh, that would affect the interest rate. I
Yeah,
think.
no, because we've only been getting bond anticipation notes, and we're still paying like 0.5%. You know, for short term. The longer term, you know, can be as high as 3.5–4%. That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with the stabilization fund. If we put the full 183,702 in, we're at 5.74% of our operating budget.
And it doesn't do anything for us, that 0.74, right? It doesn't give us any gain?
Not really,
Yeah.
no.
Because that's really what the stabilization fund is, well, it's there.
It's
to-
it's
for the
there if you
bond.
need it, because then it trashes your bond rating if you use it, right?
Yeah.
Right, but it's really there to keep the bond rating up.
Right, right.
So to keep it at 5%, we only need to be at 1,221,000, or basically we only need to put $4,000
Yeah.
of that 183 into the stabilization.
That's my choice.
And so, you know, that gives us some flexibility.
Yeah.
Now, if you see next, under capital, the full 25% brings us up to basically $400,000 in the capital fund.
Always a good thing.
It is.
So
And-
Andy would be advocating for
Andy
it.
would be happy about that.
Yep, and basically what then happens, free cash, if we did the 25%, well, if we took 50% of the 734,810, we'd be down to 367,406. You know, we're gonna need at least, you know, to be safe, 200,000 to offset snow and ice.
Yes,
deficit.
that's right. We can't go below 200,000 of free cash.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
No.
So that would, you know, and that's on a normal winter. If we have a heavy winter, we could use 300,000 in an eyelash, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
so, one option, and there's many, but if we only put the $4,000 into stabilization and then have the 179,000 go into, you know, it could go into free, if we don't use it there, it
Right.
automatically diverts to free cash.
It just stays
Right.
there, yeah.
So we've got over $500,000 then in free cash, and that gives us, quite a bit of flexibility.
And plus, we have the 400,000 in the capital fund.
If we decide to go 400,000,
yeah,
once we
yeah.
decide once we see
But I mean,
what's
so
happening.
you've got $900,000, well, $700,000 to play with if you keep two
Yep.
for snow and ice.
So,
It's not
and
bad.
other
No, it isn't.
options, I mean, one option, and I think, the selectmen are gonna be looking into this, because they, really start growing that OPEB fund.
Yeah, we should be.
50,000 is nothing. It got us started, and that's a good thing. Just the fact that we started putting away will, the bond finance companies really like that.
We don't have a policy like we have for the 25% of,
No, we don't.
and we should probably adopt that this year.
Well, just to give you an idea, to start fully funding, not even fully funding, we're $1 million in the hole every year for OPEB. If we put $1 million in, we're still not
You're treading water.
that's, yes.
Did you go to a lecture about that?
Yes, and that is one of the things, and Mike and I spoke about this the other day, and this is gonna be one of the things you're gonna present and discuss in December.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
I
we'll-
had to give him a
we'll
bunch
have
of
a-
questions I had, basically, is how is it calculated, the percentage,
Yeah.
the fund,
Yeah,
all this stuff.
that's
So
what-
Mike
yeah.
is going to gather all this information
Oh,
for
great.
the December
Okay.
meeting.
Wonderful.
Which you're running,
Wonderful.
because I'll be in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, that's all right. That's
I'll be thinking of you.
no, you won't.
Sure I will.
Can I carry you back?
No, but that will be one of the things that Mike will be going over.
Wonderful. Okay.
And so he and I will work on the agenda before
Mike,
then
thank
anyway.
you, thank you for these.
Yeah, this is
numbers.
great, Mike.
No, this is great. And
And,
it's just,
I would move to the chair that that we don't go with the 5.74.
yeah, this is something, this will be something that we'll do at town meeting.
I
You know-
know, but I'm just.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
That's all right. If you
No,
don't
I
wanna
think
wait,
it's-
That's okay.
No, I think if we don't need
Okay.
I don't think if we don't need the
Yeah,
.74,
we shouldn't.
it's not gonna gain us anything. Why put money that sits around, sits
Well,
and
no,
does
but
nothing?
either that, or I want to throw some discussion in putting it either in CIP or in
The
some
OPEB.
other,
Right.
in some other fund. But I appreciate the numbers, and I want to thank Mike for that.
Yeah, this is great. Because the capital, depending upon how all the numbers flush out with the budget, will depend upon whether we want to put 25% in, because if all of a sudden the budget numbers come out and we say we have an extra $100,000, that we say, okay, now that's gonna go into the capital operating fund. We don't need to fund this
Oh.
capital stabilization fund as fully as that, if we're trying to keep a balance between.
Oh, I see.
Because we've got two
We
funds.
could put
got the
money
ca-
into the line
right,
item. I
we
forgot
got-
about
Yeah,
that.
we got
Yeah.
the capital line item, then we've
Right,
got the capital
right.
stabilization. So if we kinda know that we wanna keep those, between the two of them at a good balance, then we've got the
Right.
flexibility to move some of this free cash, like Reg was saying, into another fund.
Right.
Excellent, thank
I
you,
mean, as
Mike.
long as we maintaining that stabilization
Right.
fund and keeping our bond ratings, and that's all I'm concerned with.
Yeah, the
That's
bond,
good,
yeah, and I think being as conservative as we've been over the past few years is gonna help us with the school and the bond.
Yeah,
So-
all right.
Super. What would you like to go to next, Mike?
Okay, well, you'd asked me to go over the CIP, and I provided you with a bunch of stuff here. First off, I mentioned earlier that we were unable to get quorums for CIP last year. This year, I'm really optimistic. We have almost a completely full committee. I just checked.
Do you have a list of those people?
Yes, it's in the packet. Mine got out of order, but
It's right behind the agenda, it's the second page in the
Yeah.
packet.
it says Capital Improvement Planning Committee, 7-member board, 3-year appointments. Really, the only one that's vacant is the FinCom member. We have to, I know, there was discussion at one of our previous, our fall meeting that people were interested in being on it. And as a matter of fact, I remember Mike was saying you were interested. And the planning board had an appointment to make. And I talked to Howard and I said, you know, if you don't mind overloading it with FinCom members, you know, Mike is interested. So the planning board appointed Mike as their representative to the CIP committee. And we didn't have anybody down for the school appointment, and I called Carol this afternoon, and she says, oh yeah, we appointed somebody back in the spring. Well, it'd be nice if you had told us. And you know, he could have been here tonight too. But the individual's name is Greg Snyder. He's actually been sworn in, but we didn't know it. I didn't know it, Janet didn't know it, so we couldn't notify him for the meeting tonight. Well, we don't have a CIP meeting.
Right.
But so, and then you see the ex officio members, myself and the light department manager and the school business manager. The only question mark, we haven't seen Josh I don't think he made a single meeting last year. And he was one of the selectmen's appointments. So we really need to touch bases with him to see if he wants to continue. We'd be more than happy to have him. But this body needs to appoint one of their own to be on that committee.
Nick, you had expressed interest. Are you still interested in being on CIP? Because you guys had discussed this, if I remember correctly, the last meeting, because you weren't sure. You guys wanted to think about it and go to the ATFC and then just kind of think about whether you wanted to be on it. And so that's why we hadn't appointed. So didn't know if you still had an interest or... And basically the meetings come up, those are the meetings, Mike, right? The meetings in January? That's pretty much it?
It's one of the most efficient committees in the town. We meet for an hour and we're done. And we get business done. You know, Chief Cudmore's on it. He's all business. And we're out of there in an hour.
Yeah.
He's packing his books up at 7:59 and 6:59, and
Right.
we know the meeting's over.
So that's all it really is the 3 meetings.
Yeah, we should be able
So-
to do it in that short of time.
Okay, I don't mind, sure.
Okay. What it'll also do, it is, especially for you two gentlemen right now, to actually, you get into the more of the nitty gritty on the capital items, and it's a good learning position, and
Might
it's,
take away some questions that we have too, as far as
Yeah.
what are these capital improvements?
right,
Oh,
and-
yeah.
and
Oh,
especially,
absolutely.
right, because now at least, and this is a good thing, because now at least we're actually have money to, because that was a complaint of a former member, whose name shall remain unnamed, but, why do we meet on capital if there's no money to
Oh,
fund
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
yeah,
now
yeah.
we actually, that was one of the big challenges. So Andy, that, you know, with Andy Beliveau having been on it, where now we have the funding, so now it's, you know, to really start planning out, and I think that's, Mike, that's what you guys are working towards, more long-term goals too, aren't you? Of a long-term schedule, so, okay.
Yes.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to
Do you
appoint,
have can I get a schedule for the meetings? Do you have that?
it's
Oh,
right
it's right
here,
here.
it's in the packet.
Yeah, it's
Is
the
it?
first.
Yep,
It's on the second page.
on with the third, right where our budget schedule is?
Yeah.
The first 3,
Oh,
First
okay.
3, that's it.
8:15 and 22.
Yep.
And actually, Mike, the CIP, you might have to, if we decide to have a meeting that day, can you guys back it up to 6?
All our meetings are at 6.
Okay, you listed 7, that's why, but they're
Oh,
all
I'm
6?
sorry.
That's okay,
Yeah,
they're all 6, okay,
yeah.
all right. All right, I'll entertain a motion to appoint Nick DeMayo as our representative to CIP.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Okay, just for your information only, and I don't plan to go through this, but I printed out the Capital Improvement Planning Committee,
The bylaws?
bylaw. It gives you a breakdown of the whole process. Basically, though, just a short definition, what goes before the CIP, it has to have, it has to be the definition of a capital item is it's gotta have at least a 5-year lifespan and cost more than $10,000. If it's less than that, you know, it usually will go into the operating budget.
Right. And this is good, because you've got in the packet here also the form that you use, and then,
Yes, this is the request form that we have the department heads fill out. And they present it to the CIP. And if you notice, there's 6 years here. The CIP program looks at 5 years out. The current year is considered the capital budget. We have an operating budget, and then we have a capital budget. And so anything in FY15 is considered this year's capital budget. And then the out years, the next other 5 years out. And, you know, we try to get as much detail as possible. You know, our crystal balls aren't always, you know, that tuned in, so, but, and usually the closer you get to the current fiscal year, the better the numbers become.
right, so an example of actually increased operating budget impact is if we were to actually add a vehicle to the fleet, as opposed to just replacing, because now you're actually adding fuel costs, you're adding expenses, you're adding repairs. You know, so that's a very simple way of showing that, you know, there could be an operating budget impact. You know, it could be if we replace a vehicle, I would think sometimes we might be able to have a negative operating budget impact because you have less repairs and more efficiency on fuel and things like that, so.
Right. And the directions come with the form for the preparation of the form.
When is everybody's CIP articles due? CIP request, I mean.
Well, I'm gonna get the budgets want the budgets to go out and come back before Christmas, and then the CIP request will come in right after Christmas.
Okay. Super.
And then this is our, really, this shows what happened last year. We really don't have a lot of, as I said, the crystal ball working. A lot of our needs are unfortunately immediate, because we did go through a period of 5 or 6 years. We did not spend any money on capital items unless something broke. That was our capital planning. If it broke, then we had to replace it.
Free cash, yeah.
Now we're, you know, at least last year, we looked at 2 years, and, you know, the fire department is looking long range. They know in 2018, they have to replace breathing bottles, and big ticket item is the
Fire engine.
engine replacement.
I mean, maybe that's something we should think about putting money aside for,
Right,
even.
that's exactly.
You know,
and that-
That's,
and that- yeah, that,
yeah.
And who knows,
What's the whole truck cost? Oh,
you can spend $1 million without
yeah,
batting
easy.
your
I
eye.
mean, we've been paying, what, 70
That
grand?
cost
for 10 years?
$770,000.
the ladder.
The ladder truck cost $770,000.
This engine is 6? Why wouldn't we just consider buying a whole new truck?
Spending what?
Just buying a new truck instead of spending 600 on just an engine? Is it?
Oh, no, it's the whole truck.
Oh, it's the whole truck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, yeah.
It's like, it would be like engine something as opposed to ladder truck as opposed to rescue truck.
With tires.
With tires.
I wonder why he was so surprised. Oh,
You have pumps, you have engines.
ladders, hooking
And that would
ladders.
actually, I mean, when we go through the fire department and stuff like that, you'll see that's, yeah, they got ladder, engine, rescue, ambulance. It's just a generic term for, it's not a ladder truck being replaced, it's an engine truck.
Yeah, this is just a BRT, big red truck.
All right, great. Cool. Any questions? Anybody have any questions for Mike on that?
Nope.
Okay. Some of the items Mike and I were discussing, just to kind of go down for future discussion, we just discussed the OPEB's gonna come up in December. Mike, can you enlighten us to the timeline for facilities and road maintenance? Because I know you've got Joe Panadosian looking at combined facilities plan.
Oh,
Remember
okay.
we've
I
got
was
all that?
wondering what was happening with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I just talked to Joe, and we're meeting either Monday or Wednesday of next week. I'm just waiting to hear from Carol of her availability. So we plan to have a plan in time for this.
Town meeting?
For
Oh, yeah.
budget? Oh, super.
Yeah,
Wonderful, wonderful.
So will that be part of the budget presentation, or will that be something separate you want to discuss with us or presentation, something separate?
right now, I'd say separately. I just don't know. I mean, he's very confident that he's got a proposal for us that will meet our needs and not, and meet our financial needs as well. He knows how, strapped we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he met with the school back in August, and that's where most of the maintenance occurs and is needed.
Right.
Right.
So he has a pretty good. He said today he has a pretty good handle on what we need and how economically he can help us.
Just for you new members, what we did was over a year ago, started discussing, actually it's almost 2 years
It's a
ago
long
now,
time ago, yeah.
discussing, because every building has their own way of maintaining. So there's not one combined facilities maintenance department. So we tried to look into, a committee looked into some different ideas, and there was, it couldn't come to consensus on that, so we hired a private consultant, Joe Panadosi, who's got a lot of experience in facilities, to come up with this plan, because this should, ideally, it's going to be the same cost and actually provide us more maintenance on our buildings, right? Is that the goal?
Yeah, we don't have anybody
So
in
anything-
charge of maintenance, and we don't do we don't have a preventive maintenance plan. And that's why things, our maintenance plan, like I said earlier, if it breaks,
It's reactive.
you
Yeah.
either fix it or replace it. We
It's
don't.
crisis
Yeah.
management,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
It is.
Because everybody in their building say, well, personnel is more important than putting a coat of paint or
That's-
changing.
Well, the other thing is everybody
changing a
hires their
plumbing
own
unit
plumber
or
and their
Yeah.
own electrician and.
So cost of savings is,
Yeah.
and then be able to actually, ideally, to have some sort of department for people who can move from one building to another, that they're not just for that one building, so. But
Luckily,
those
we
are
have all
ideas
that-
you guys are exploring, right, that Joe's exploring, okay.
We have all that new equipment now that we put in for,
Yeah, and
energy.
that's
So that
gotta
makes
be
that's a
main-
good, this is a good place to start.
Yeah.
It's gotta be maintained. Yeah, we replaced basically all the moving parts in every building. We spent $2.1 million upgrading all our, heating plant and mechanical controls, and we switched out all the lights in every building. And we're looking to have, at least a 25% a year savings on that. And the way the program works, we can take that 25% savings and pay the $2.1 million bond debt service off with it. So but we gotta take care of everything.
Yeah.
It was warranted, everything's warranted for first year, and we're coming off the first year, so
We gotta take care of
you
it.
gotta have a plan
Yeah, yeah.
in place.
So you
However,
don't have a maintenance director at all or anything?
No,
no,
no.
no, that's, yeah,
not-
That's the problem.
That's not good.
yeah.
That's right.
We had one in the small school system up in Maine that, boy, he could save some money. He found all the problems,
Yep.
maintenance everything, and
Mm-hmm.
Makes a
it was
difference.
nice. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've been talking about this for
For
14 years.
Well, been a
Takes the
while.
right person that knows all the
Exactly.
tricks.
So that'll be interesting to hear that.
However, this does impact all of the budgets, though. Everybody that has maintenance in their budget.
Well, we took that out,
Thinking
didn't
about
you?
consolidating it, maybe.
No, we took out all the energy costs.
The energy cost, excuse me.
Right.
Okay, right.
Right, but there's still maintenance out
Yeah,
there.
there's still some small, they have money there to call a plumber, they have money
Right.
for an electrician, they have.
Well, the schools have a fairly big maintenance budget.
Are we,
Yes,
are
they
we
do.
looking to pull that all out and make it a separate department, maintenance department?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
that's the plan.
Because that would do exactly what Reggie's saying, is that now that's the maintenance department. It's not a matter of, hey, I'm gonna skip that coat of paint, I'm gonna skip that changing the light bulb, because I need the money in the budget elsewhere. And just,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think with our energy budget, we saved the town, what, 143 grand a year? Right?
Yeah, I think it was 147 to be exact.
47, okay.
Pretty close.
All right, so, we're saving, we did save the town, or we're saving the town
Mhm.
some money, but we're reinvesting it into, the
Right.
maintenance, yeah.
super. The planned health plan.
What is that?
Remember the planned health care, that we can do our own, as opposed to having to bargain with each unit? There was a talk for years, we've been talking about, people are asking us why we didn't go to GIC, but GIC was actually more expensive.
Right,
But then there was the
right.
legislature adopted planned health. Am I using the wrong terminology?
It's plan design.
Plan design.
Brand design. Okay.
Yeah,
So that means that we don't have to go to the unions to get permission? is
Well,
it basically.
we do it all we get them all together at once,
Okay.
and it's pretty cut and dry. The way the new legislation is, that they get up to 25% of the first year's savings,
Right.
and after that, and we get to choose what plans.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
some-
but
and
but they,
communities
if the town saves money, they say the employees save
Absolutely,
money because they're
yeah.
they're
Yeah, the
But they get a
40%.
refund, and Haverhill's getting that right now, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it. You have a premium holiday. Is the
Oh,
way-
is that what you do?
Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's a good idea.
that's the simplest way.
I mean, we've been saving money for the last several years with MIA, is it MIA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maya,
MIA, right?
MIIA.
Yeah.
But there's
Right.
still every union has potentially different costs.
I know,
and
but if
stuff.
it's gonna be cheaper for them to buy into this insurance policy, why would anybody wanna go the other way? I don't, doesn't make sense.
That's right.
Well, we had a problem a few years ago where people wouldn't agree to do something that would have saved everybody money.
2 years ago?
Yeah. Two or
Not
three.
since I've been here,
No,
4 years,
no.
over 4 years ago.
No, we've been with this MIA for.
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
no. That's I'm saying that we had an opportunity to make changes, and we couldn't because
yeah.
because someone voted against it.
We tried to do
Right.
plan design change before the legislation was enacted. And, we could have saved substantially. But one of the bargaining units, all the other bargaining units agreed to it.
Right.
But one didn't, and they had more than 50% of the vote. So we lost out on that.
So this is actually for, and I think for a smaller community, doing plan design is gonna be more cost beneficial to us than like going to GIC. GIC, in my opinion, only really totally works for larger communities that have the real big, the 90-10 and the 80-20 splits.
Oh, yeah. We
GIC,
have,
it does not really provide a lot more benefit for smaller communities that have, what is our split now? We 60-40?
60/40.
60-40, so, and then when you're with GIC, you're locked in for 3 years.
Right.
And like you said, one of the other savings, you
Yeah,
said
yeah,
why
yeah.
we're also saving money is a lot of those communities that had the bad records or with the, that were in the Maya type of things that had a lot of the accidents that made the rates go up, they all went to GIC. So now the communities that are left in the Maya are the nice healthy communities that don't have a lot of illnesses that raise the rates. So it's been a lot of different moving parts to make it work, so.
which could change at any point, probably. Yeah.
They
Do-
can.
Are we gonna have plan design before next fiscal year, or is it, or probably, okay, so this maybe have something to do with this budget too?
Yes.
15 budget, excellent.
Yes.
OPEB we just discussed. Financial policies, we're gonna review those in December? Or when do you wanna, I guess, when do you wanna review financial policies and,
Well, OPEB could be a very lengthy discussion.
Yeah, we don't.
okay,
Um,
then we'll do financial
You,
policies
you
during
want
the
to be
budget.
here when we do financial policies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, so that'll be
yeah,
January.
some other time.
Oh,
yeah.
'cause you don't wanna do financial policies?
I don't mind doing financial, I just think you should be here,
No,
that's all.
no, I think we should do that, and I think that, in also in that, we need to look at our SOP, and I'll bring that up.
Yeah, yeah, you
So
said
we'll do-
that.
Yeah, well, so we'll
This
do,
is, when you say financial policy, this is the bylaws. I
the
take it.
policies we did for the 25% for stabilization, 25%.
Oh, that, oh,
All that
okay.
stuff, just to kind of
Oh,
review,
oh,
are we still
oh,
on
oh.
target with that,
I
and
thought it
then,
was, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I
No,
thought it
no,
was
no, no.
the, you know, the bylaws, and we were gonna look at the bylaws, and is everything wonderful, and, but whatever.
or is there any financial bylaws that we need to look at,
Well, I mean,
besides the budget?
it always
Do-
helps to review. I mean, we have a debt policy. We have
We
lot
did a bunch of
policies.
policies a few years ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it'd be good to review them, that's,
Oh, absolutely.
so that may actually be the meeting, the regular meeting
Meeting in January
Might
to
be
do all that.
to make sure it's reviewed before we
And
start
look
going
at
into
our
the
Yeah, that would
budget.
be
SOP
perfect
and-
Okay.
in January.
Yeah.
So we'll look at
And
the
even
SOP.
look at the bylaws, you know, just to take a buzz through the bylaws to see if anything is out of whack, and if it
Well,
is, maybe we could change it at town meeting.
There is one bylaw, but I don't know if this is the time, but we've, the the finance director needs to give us the budget by March 15th.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
I vaguely
Actually, I
remember
think
that.
it's March 30th.
March 30th.
You got
Okay.
2 more weeks.
Which was fine, to your point, Reg, when the legislature actually gave us the information on time, then we would get all the
Exactly,
budget together and it would
exactly.
be fine.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the bond rating and debt, when would you like to kind of give us a quick lesson on bond rating and debt and where we are? You want to do that at the January meeting,
That sounds like a lot, but.
or is that too much?
That might be too much.
Okay.
We could maybe do that, because like I said, we're gonna have a bond call before we go out to bond for the school, and, so February.
It would be good before that to have
Yeah,
that
right-
meeting.
Right around, because we have to collect all the data for the bond call, and we can go over, I could have the finance team come in and we can talk about it.
No.
Okay, all right, we'll leave that date open right now until you can determine when you want to throw that on our agenda. All right, cool. So those are items that we had discussed just for bringing us up to speed on a lot of things, and
That's good, that's good.
so. All right, appointments, we've just done the CIP. We don't really have a school building, you're just,
No, I'm on it.
you are on it, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that would be good if I actually brought the minutes to vote on,
Oh.
which I didn't.
Oh.
So, all right, so
No,
you
you
are.
voted on it, I've been,
Okay,
I've
you've been
been
doing it.
appointed by the selectmen.
Jim's been
Actually, it's-
going to the meetings.
I've been going to
Excellent.
meetings, I can't go Monday, but
Excellent,
it's actually kind of interesting. And it isn't, it's once a month for the most part, it's not bad.
okay.
But it has been interesting. It's good. It's actually I think it's a very good committee. And the process, I am pleasantly surprised at the process.
Oh, good.
The guys are very professional running, the owner's project manager in particular, and the architect. So, yeah, it's actually quite good. I am hopeful that we're going to get through this. Like, we talked about that the school building itself came in $4 million under target and the
Which
bid.
building?
The building itself, the new
Pembroke.
building.
Pembroke,
Construction.
Yeah, we're
The
talking about
construction of
Pembroke,
the new building.
Yeah.
of Pembroke, right.
Yes,
Yeah.
of the Pembroke
4 million?
replacement. 4 million, and of course, that means the state now looks at that, and they're not gonna give us as much for that. But that still means that we have $2 million that could go towards the high school now. So with
Without any further tax
lu-
impact.
No, you gotta go to town meeting and get permission and all
Well,
that.
cleaning
No,
up dirt.
no.
Don't think so?
We've already got
Oh, wow.
permission to borrow $46 million.
Yeah, you got the permission.
Well, I thought we had to go to town meeting.
No.
We don't. Wow. But anyway, so that's 2 million.
We're
So
gonna have to
we're
go to
hoping.
pay for the middle high school.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, the middle high
yeah,
school.
Oh, okay, yeah, yes.
But I'm hoping that if we're lucky, that we can bring the whole thing in and keep our commitment to the 25.8 million that was gonna be for the new Pembroke school.
Right, because there's potentially increased costs in the high school.
There's a
but if
the
we're
increased
saving on
cost in the high
Pen-
school, and there's a
How
slightly
much
lower
we
cost.
talking about the middle high school now?
It's like 4 or 5 million, I think. It was gonna be 2. Oh, it's more than that. I haven't, is it? Oh, yeah, okay.
7.4 million.
Really?
7.4.
We had to look at that. We have to look at that.
Oh, boy.
We get reimbursed.
For some of it.
49%.
Yeah. But I mean, we were looking originally at us putting up 1, and now we're gonna have to put up 3.5. Yeah.
And that's where hopefully the savings on
Will
the
help,
Pembroke, yeah.
hopefully. Well, we don't know what the mitigation of the arsenic is
Well,
gonna
that's what I was
cost.
gonna ask. I mean, how
But
does
that, we don't know yet. The meeting on Monday, Michelle called a meeting on Monday, and the idea is to get the contractor going again, which is a good thing.
It's a huge thing. Isn't that costing like $20,000 a day?
Yeah, I don't know what
Something
it
along those
is. I
lines?
don't know, but it's certainly gonna cost some money. I don't know if it's that much.
Well, I asked him, because I have a Wednesday morning, we didn't meet this today, but we've been meeting every Wednesday. We have a construction meeting, and I asked him, I said, how much is this gonna cost us? And, I mean, for the remobilization, he indicated it would be minimal. Now, he didn't say
We don't know what minimal
minimal
is.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the real costs are gonna be in mitigating
Right,
the arsenic.
right.
And we're gonna have to change, there's a health and safety plan that has to be put in effect, and he's gonna have to submit change orders to institute that.
Right.
My experience with 21Es is that they get a lot more expensive than people think. And I've had some experience with it, and it worries me quite a bit, that people maybe are underestimating, what we could be looking at.
I think
This
it,
is-
I think it depends entirely upon where, has it always been there, where it is in the soil and that aspect, right?
Well, that's some of it, but right now it's both deep and shallow.
It's funny, I looked at those charts, and it didn't look as though they were above acceptable level. It looked like they were below, but maybe I don't know how to read them.
Were you only looking at where they're digging, or were you looking
No.
at
There's a
broad-
chart of the materials and how much there was and what the levels were, but I'm not used to looking at that stuff, so I don't know. But you're right. The cost we have to worry about is the mitigation cost
What about it?
that the contractor's going to have to do when they're doing the site work.
Plus the cost of the LSP, who watches the contractor do what he's doing.
Yeah, but they have to be there anyway, right?
The
I mean-
LSP wouldn't, not unless there was arsenic there.
No, I wasn't part of the initial meeting. Sorry, Mike.
That's okay.
Are we considering as a town filing suit against anybody on that?
No, because it really hasn't cost us a whole lot, and this mitigation would have had to be done anyway. If the only difference was that they should have done it in April and they did it in September. The
Well, to
stuff's
be
always
fair,
been there.
I mean, it would have been nice to have known from what had happened at that town meeting is that this happened. The first knowledge of this was back in 2011.
No.
That's what came out of that first meeting.
No, I don't. That's not what I understood. That the first
That's
first testing they did, that they were required to do, didn't mention arsenic. They didn't actually do any testing in 2011. they did like an analysis
They
of
did.
what they thought
Yeah.
would be problems.
They did a phase one, which
Right.
is just an examination of the past uses on the site and what has gone around the site over
Right.
the years. And they only went back to, it's all post-World War II. So, you know,
But the overall thought is that that project is gonna get up and running pretty soon.
um,
They,
it could
Yeah.
start back up next week.
next week, yeah. Because they said that Michelle's email said that they were planning on getting the contractor going again on Monday. The vote on going again. But, the mitigation, how much the mitigation's gonna cost is the
And the arson was caused by
rocks.
Yeah, it's just.
It's in the ground.
rocks.
There's arsenic everywhere in the ground.
Yeah.
There's always some
It's
level
in
of
the
arsenic.
bedrock.
Yeah,
Oh.
it leaches out of the bedrock.
Oh, okay.
When we talk about mitigation, the mitigation costs are gonna be just to extract that soil, or is it also to dispose of it?
Right now, we're not talking about soil removal. We're talking about separation.
Okay.
We have three options. Most costly is burying it with, approximately 3 feet of clean soil.
Mhm.
We can build on it, put a building on it, and the pad acts as the separator
We can just pave it all.
and pave it. So, those are our three options right now. Now, that's at the building site. The other area is around the existing school and the playing field.
The fields, no doubt, yeah.
Now, if they only have, 0 to 12 inches, it may be cheaper to scrape it and take it away.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility, or bury it in 3 feet of, fill. So, and a large part of, around the school, the school's gonna be demoed, and a new field's, a large field, a large and baseball field are gonna be built there, so that will satisfy the separation. We'll bring in all new fill for that. It'll just be the older fields
The existing one,
that'll have to be dealt with. But you're right, it's not gonna be cheap.
So it just goes to what that budget is. I mean, when we talk about, that's on the budget. How much more is it gonna be?
Yeah,
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 since
we
this is
don't
an
know.
unforeseen cost.
We'll,
Okay.
we'll have a better idea Monday.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, so that way we can at least, we'll have an idea what it is and plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now, if we remember correctly, in our meeting in September, we voted unanimously to advise the selectmen to do away with the personnel board. And,
We did.
and to go with the bylaw that was presented by Mike. Well, now they didn't do that, and now they have some personnel board nominees. So the question is, do we want to approve these personnel board nominees, or do we want to hold with our original recommendation and have this go to town meeting, that this is just not the way to proceed going in the future, that the personnel board should go away and go forward with a bylaw to change it? Because my concern is, as I look at this, is if we nominate, this is me, my concern is if we nominate these people and put them on the personnel board, now we're a few years down the line again from getting this to where we originally voted it should go. Thoughts?
I think that if there are things that the personnel board needs to do, would these nominees, would this constitute a personnel board that can function? I mean, you know,
I know,
seriously, you know, are there enough people?
Right now, the board, it calls for 5 members.
Yeah,
They have the names of 3 people.
including
So-
Chris,
Yeah, Chris and 2 other people.
2 others, okay.
And that would, if everybody shows up, then they have a quorum.
You know, the question is there anything that critically that we see needs to be done between now and town meeting for a potential new bylaw?
I know that Chief Cudmore had some things that he really wanted done and haven't been done. So,
Yeah,
so I think,
But can he wait?
I suppose he could.
I would,
don't know.
I have a concern about, okay, we've got 2 people. Okay, we got 3. And once again, people have to show up and I feel like this might be just kicking the can down the road.
No, it's a concern. I don't know. I think the thing to do is to me is to find out if there's anything that really needs doing between now and town
Well, I
meeting.
agree. I mean, my thought is, what is the purpose of them nominating these people at this point in time? Was it just because we came to them and said, okay, you know, our motion is just to do away with this? And then they said, whoa, hold on, you know, was this a surprise, or,
No, I don't think so.
so what's the purpose of these people?
I think that
Well, it wasn't functioning, that was the whole
It wasn't.
problem.
Well, that's what I'm
And they're
saying.
Chris Rich is trying to get it functioning again, but
and I think was it possibly, and unfortunately Stu's not here, we probably, I know he's gonna leave, we would have brought it up. Is it possibly, Mike, that the selectmen just didn't wanna take action on it at this point in time? Because we weren't gonna have a
Well,
fall
they-
town meeting? So they kicked the can down the road?
no, well, they've decided that it would be best to reconstitute the committee. They had the opportunity and they had in front of them the recommendation of the DOR to
do away with it.
discontinue the
Right.
board. They had a new bylaw that they could have put forward at a fall town meeting. They still can put forward it at the spring town meeting. And I think, you know, they wanted to, they talked about reconstituting it for at least 6 months. But you know, it's in for a penny, in for a pound, because once the people are elected, they're no, they're not elected. So,
Appointed.
They're appointed.
no, it could be discontinued at any time. But right now, the appointment process is archaic to begin with, because the finance committee has a 1/3 vote. It takes 3 votes to be nominated, not to be nominated, to be appointed. The finance committee has a vote, the moderator has a vote, and the selectmen have a vote.
Are all 3 votes necessary, or is it majority 2 out of 3?
Well, it doesn't speak to that, but I would assume it would be, you just need a majority, you don't need a unanimous vote.
It is
so
very
The board
archaic.
was structured for 5 people, right?
Yes,
So if you have, you know, you need 3 people for,
So they, you know, this,
you know,
they've got
you know,
3.
for a majority, right? I mean, for
for a quorum.
a quorum, right?
Mhm.
I don't know, I would suggest that we go along with our original vote. And I'll make that in the form of a motion.
We can bring, yeah,
Okay, I'll second it.
okay.
Okay, well, I was just thinking, can we change the policy a little bit? To maybe slightly appease the selectmen? Because the way it was where in Maine was that they had the final say on what the town manager wanted.
That would be changing a bylaw.
That would be changing the
Yeah,
bylaw.
yeah. We just have the ability to appoint. We could appoint them. Could we say we're only agreeing to do it for 6 months?
That's kind of my question. Kind of see if they do have their act
You know,
together.
do it with a contingency to it. I don't know if that counts for anything.
No, the
You either appoint them or you don't.
bylaw states how their appointments
terms
run.
Ah.
They're 3-year appointments, and
Really?
you
Oh.
would be appointing them. Some of them would be filling unexpired terms,
Oh,
and
okay.
some of them would be filling full terms.
Oh.
Right,
okay.
and then so-
Yeah, okay, that's,
And then, I guess,
okay. I mean, I think we should do away with it.
I do too.
You know, it's just, it was obvious at that meeting, that it was an extra step that wasn't necessary.
Well, it was a DOR recommendation as well.
That's, and
Yeah.
as Mike said, it served
You're
its
right. I mean-
it served its purpose way back when there was when we didn't
Didn't
have
have a
professionals,
right, yeah, that's true.
as large a staff of professionals
Right.
that we have now, when the town was run by 3 selectmen and a secretary. We didn't have a town administrator, you know, we had a finance director who acted as personnel director, when, that's, you know, way back when, it worked. Times have changed.
No, I agree.
And it's
I
just,
agree.
it's,
Okay.
and in regards to laws, I mean, and we look to Mike, as we should, in my opinion, we look to Mike to make sure that we're complying with the law, that our town is complying with law, whether it be personnel or any other kind of laws, as opposed to, you know, a volunteer board. That's, you know, we're having this conversation today. You know, volunteer boards, we look to Mike to make sure we're following the law. We don't tell Mike whether we're following the law or not. We look to him for guidance to make sure
Right.
that he's got the town's back, and that's really what, you know, when it comes down, especially with personnel grievances and things like that, it's making sure, because it can get very dicey. So, what
Move
is
the
that
question.
noise?
It's wind, I guess, in the system, is it?
Why?
I think it's that camera above your head.
Really?
Just spinning.
Oh my lord, it's just
under
like,
arrest.
it's like nails on a chalkboard. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor, to stay with our original vote in September to, do away with the personnel board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There will be no vote on nominees from this board.
So it's really all up to the moderator.
It's, if they choose to go against the advice of an advisory board at this point in time, and I guess, you know, the question would be like Donnie, I mean, it's just, is there anything really critical? Which, if anything, can wait,
Well, he actually
I mean, they
waited
haven't-
for a while now,
because we
right?
haven't had a board.
We haven't. So you're right, you're right.
It's that issue, no board, so, okay, I have no minutes to approve. Next meeting, anybody have anything else before we decide on the next meeting?
Is everybody
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, that's right.
passed out the revenue and expenditure report? You'll be getting this every month now. This happens to cover the first 4 months, 1/3 of the year. We don't normally do quarterly reports, we do monthly reports. And I can go over it real quickly with you. As far as the revenue, it's really early in the year, but nevertheless, we have, 33% of the year in, and we have 39% of the revenue in. So that's
That's not a bad thing.
that's good.
Yeah.
Some revenues are.
Did you not get one of these?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Some
You get one either,
revenues
Reg?
No,
come in at all in the end of the year. Some of them come in early, and the others come in gradually throughout the year. The biggest revenue is real estate and personal property tax. We, 1/3 of the year, we've got almost half revenue in, 45%. Things like the state aid, that surprises me that we have 30% already. That'll probably stay that way until close to June.
Yeah.
And then we get it all
Get it
in,
all at once.
at the end. But it's nice to see we've got at least the 30%. That's a big chunk of change.
So the electric department, do they pay us in one lump sum at some
At
point?
the end of the year.
At the end of the
They're one
year, is that right?
trailing revenues,
Yeah.
yes. But at least, we know we've got it in hand.
Yeah, yeah.
I count it as
Confident.
Counted as revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
in. and, you know, our treasurer is one of the best in the state. We collect 99%
Wow.
taxes every year in and year out. She does a fantastic job.
And she doesn't have many more tax titles to collect, right? Because she's pretty much got them all.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a nice thing. Our treasurer, when the tax titles that were out there that were uncollected, she'd over a course of, how many years? About 4 or 5 years?
She'd been here at least 6 or 7.
Did really well collecting tax titles and getting those
Yeah,
paid. She
yeah.
did a really good job. Kudos to Jackie.
Now, when we get one, it gets processed and, you know, we get paid for it, or we almost always get paid for it. We haven't had to have an auction. We just haven't. Not since I've been here. So, revenues are fine. As far as the expenses, you know, you really, you know, you go down that last column, and anything that is over 33%, you want to should call your attention to it. But, you know, some things, you know, you don't worry about. You know, like the first one you see is Selectman Office Operations. We pay dues, I mean, and that's a real low number to begin with.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of payments that go out right in the beginning of the year. And
Right.
so that's gonna take a
Right.
while to level out.
Right.
We've already spent our
Operating
$200.
expenses, you know, we buy,
I noticed that.
you know, we buy a lot of supplies and things like that in the beginning of the year. The Town administrator's deferred comp, I get that in lump sums.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't come, you know, necessarily on a weekly basis. You know, the assessor salaries, that's the assessing board, that's not our assessing staff. The biggest items in this budget are salaries. So you wanna, you know, as long as the salaries are trailing, you know, you don't wanna see salary line items above 33%.
33, yeah,
at this
yeah.
time of the year.
Right.
You know, something might be wrong.
No, it looks good, Mike.
You know, and then on the second page, you'll see some, you know, some expenditures are 100% spent already. You know, we'll pay a lot of our insurance bills right up front because we get a discount for paying them. Same thing with our pension plan. We get a discount. See, we paid 99% of it for the county retirement. Actually, we've been building in that discount anyway. We usually, I think we get at least a 5% discount, but I'm only budgeting for 95% of the cost anyway.
Where did Sandy spend 100% of our income?
That's the dues.
Dues.
Dues and the
The ATFC
number of people went to the
Yeah.
seminar too.
seminar, yeah. I know, we spent a whole $200 of that.
So if you see the general fund total at 39.5%, it's over 33%, but, you know, we have all those items that are 99, 100% paid, and as the year goes out, that'll, things will round out.
Couple things that pop out, Mike, which I don't know if we need to speak to Carol about, is the special education district-wide and out-of-district. It's over 100% already.
Well, what they do, Sandy, they encumber all their money.
That's all the encumbrances? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
They just, beginning of the year, everything's encumbered.
Because any of those numbers could change during the course of the year,
Right.
especially on
And-
those line items. Okay.
And yes, and the big difference between the town and the school, they can transfer line items without
Town meeting approval.
approval of anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure how the school committee handles it, but the town can't.
Do that, right.
We can only do that in the last 2 months of the year, and we need
It's their
FinCom,
money to play with.
we need FinCom and selectmen approval to do it.
Actually, I thought that the reason that we can't is because we put out such a detailed budget, that if we put out a budget that had far less detail in it, we would have more flexibility. I'm not advocating it, because I think it's a good idea for people to know where they're going, but I got that feeling is that we're constrained by the fact that that document that we put out there is what people vote on.
Yes.
Well, what we're only voting on 2 line items per department. Personnel and
I
operating.
know, but
I mean, we break it, I like to break it down finer so we can see where the spending is actually occurring, and if somebody's gonna get into trouble, you know.
no, I'm just talking about
Later.
what is presented at town meeting.
Right, if highway, we're voting on highway salary per se, I'm just saying highway because I just looked over and saw highway.
Right.
Highway salary and highway expenses, we're voting, are we voting on each, I thought we were voting on highway salary and highway expenses.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
No,
it.
Right, so
you are.
therefore, right, so therefore, if Peter's expenses run over and he's got money left over in salary, he can't
That's right.
just spend it because we voted on those 2 line items.
Essentially separately, because they're in the book like that.
Yeah.
Because
If
if
it was
we-
a single item.
If it was
he could.
highway, yeah.
If it said highway, he would have the ability to
Yeah.
switch.
You don't wanna
Can
do
you
that.
move around money in the highway
Expense.
in either salary or expense? Can you move
Yeah,
around
yeah.
money within that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
can, yeah, he can overspend one
Right.
detail line item versus another, as long as because we vote on that bottom line of expense, and that's what he has to account to. But yeah, we don't wanna, we would never wanna vote in just salary overall and
No,
expense
no,
overall.
I think it's much better to put that information out there.
Hey, we used to, I think years ago, we used to vote on every one of, we used to vote a budget that had all these line items, and we had to do a lot more moving around on special town meeting, when line items were running short and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I
Yeah.
thought that, the budget is pretty much what we've always had. Years ago, when I was first on the finance committee, the budgets were not that detailed. They didn't put a real budget in the book that everybody got.
What'd you get?
I just really the top end number for the most part.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you, Mike. And I will forward this to you guys in an email document. I forgot to forward it. Any other questions or comments? Okay, the next meeting is December 18th. I'll get with Mike on the agenda and with you, Jim.
I
before
will
leave.
not be able
Yep.
to.
You will not be able to attend? Okay.
No.
And I guess that's what you can, I mean, well, one of the things is that nothing needs to vote, and I think it would be good to have the OPEB discussion if Mike is gonna be ready for that, so that way.
Oh, yeah, I would like to have that
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, so, hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for joining us. Wow, she's